The famous story takes place in 1967 during the flight of the Soviet spacecraft Soyuz 1. The only cosmonaut on board was Vladimir Komarov. Soyuz 1 experienced serious technical problems while still on the ground, but the flight was still scheduled due to the political situation and omissions in checking security systems. When the ship was in space, it became clear that many systems were not working properly. Komarov reported a large number of mechanical problems, including malfunctions with parachutes and control systems. Unfortunately, a disaster occurred while trying to return to Earth. The transmitter on board the ship was not working properly, and the control center could not contact Komarov. When Soyuz 1 began to enter the atmosphere, the parachute system failed again, and the ship fell at a speed of about 145 kilometers per hour. The cosmonaut did not survive this terrible accident. After the accident, the commanders listened to recordings of Komarov's last conversations with experiences, adapted for publication in order to warn other officers from similar mistakes in the future. This story was a serious warning about the importance of checking systems and ensuring safety during missions in space. It is tragic and reminds us that space exploration is fraught with risks and complexities that require constant attention to detail and safety. Let's talk about the famous Challenger shuttle disaster that occurred on January 28, 1986. On that fatal day, just 73 seconds after liftoff, the shuttle exploded in midair, destroying the hopes and lives of the 7 astronauts on board. The event attracted considerable public attention. As a teacher, Krista Koloff was on board the shuttle, who won the competition and got the opportunity to go into space. This was an example of how space exploration became available to the general public and aroused great interest. Research after the disaster showed that the cause of the explosion was the loss of O-rings, which were supposed to prevent gas leakage during launch. The low temperatures of that day contributed to the weakness of the O-rings, and gases began to escape, which led to the destruction of the shuttle structure. This disaster was a real shock to the entire aerospace industry and led to increased safety measures and improved verification procedures before each launch. The Challenger tragedy reminded us that the path to space is fraught with dangers, and that safety must always come first. Stories like this remind us of the fragility of life and the value of scientific research in space. They also inspire scientists and engineers to continuously improve technologies and procedures to make space travel even safer and more productive. Let's look at the tragic event that occurred on the International Space Station, ISS, in 2003. Then, while performing a task outside the station, astronaut Leroy Chiao accidentally broke away from the clutch and began experiencing problems with life support. The astronaut found himself alone in outer space without the possibility of communication with the Earth. He lost control of his equipment and moved through space without being able to return to the station. The team on the ground was faced with the inability to quickly solve the problem due to the complexity of the task and the emergency situation. As the hours passed, Chiao continued to drift in outer space, exposed to strong solar radiation and the vacuum of space. His oxygen reserves were rapidly running out, and his chances of survival were decreasing by the minute. Fortunately, after a few hours it was possible to establish communication between Chiao and the crew at the station, and a rescue operation was organized. Through the efforts of the crew and the coordinated work of the team on Earth, the astronaut was successfully transported back to the station and immediately received medical attention. This terrifying story is a reminder of how dangerous and difficult missions in space are. It shows how even the most trained and experienced astronauts can face unexpected problems and be in a critical situation. However, the history of Chiao also demonstrates the importance of training, communication and cooperation between the crew on the station and the team on the ground. Thanks to the prompt response and coordinated actions, the astronaut was rescued and returned alive to the station. These stories show not only the horrors and dangers of space, but also the importance of developing the technologies, procedures and skills necessary for safe and successful space exploration. They remind us that our progress in the space industry comes with risks, but also that these risks can be overcome with our ability to work together and find innovative solutions.